Good evening, everybody. It's 7 o'clock on Monday, December 15th, and we will call this regular city commission meeting to order. Could we have a roll call, please?
Mayor Gary,
Here.
Commissioner Bauer, Commissioner Bosphus-Rath,
Here.
Commissioner Habusta,
Here.
Commissioner Marple,
Here.
Commissioner Rubenstein,
Here.
Commissioner Talentino.
Here.
I think Commissioner Bauer should be coming, so we'll give him a little grace time here. So, if everybody could please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you very much. All right. As we move into this holiday season, I just wanted to take a moment to pause and reflect, not just on the work before us, but on the spirit in which we do that work. This time of year reminds us that the values that bind a community together, kindness, generosity, patience, and hope. While we may not always agree on every issue, we are united by a shared commitment to serve the people of this city and to make our community a better place for everyone. I want to express my sincere appreciation to our city staff, first responders, volunteers, and community organizations who continue to go above and beyond, especially during the holidays, when demands are high and time with family is precious. Your dedication does not go unnoticed. To my fellow commissioners, thank you for your willingness to engage in thoughtful discussion, to listen, to work through challenges with professionalism and respect. The tone we set here matters. When we lead with positivity and mutual respect, we strengthen public trust and we set an example for the entire community. This season also reminds us that small acts of kindness can have a big impact. Whether it's checking on a neighbor, supporting a local business, or lending a helping hand, these moments are what truly define the character of our city. As we close out this year, let us carry that holiday spirit forward into our decisions, our conversations, and our service. Together, let's continue to lead with optimism, compassion, and a shared belief in the future of our community. Now we'll move into item C, which is public comment. Is there anybody in the audience that would like to secure any time to speak on any of our scheduled agenda items? So anybody that would like to speak on any of the agenda items? All right, seeing none, we'll move into item D, which is our consent agenda. Deputy City Clerk, Erica Gordon.
Thank you. Tonight, number 1 on the consent agenda is the approval of City Commission meeting minutes of December 1st, 2025. Item 2, acceptance of the Downtown Development Authority meeting minutes of November 12th, 2025. Item 3, acceptance of the Economic Development Corporation Brownfield Redevelopment Authority and Tax Increment Finance Authority 3 meeting minutes of November 11th, 2025. Item 4, acceptance of the Local Development Finance Authority meeting minutes of September 4th, 2025. Item 5, acceptance of the Police and Fire Pension Board meeting minutes of July 23rd, September 17th, October 15th, and November 4th, 2025. Item 6 is resignation of Jonathan Rayford from the Historical Development Commission. Item 7, first reading of proposed modifications to employee handbook related to the city's cellular phone use policy. Item 8, scheduling of a public hearing for the January 5th, 2026 City Commission meeting for the purposes of considering an alley vacation request submitted by Scott Badinsky. Item 9, consideration of resolution to set an alternate date for the July or December Tax Board of Review. Item 10, consideration of the 2026 part-time seasonal wage schedule. Item 11, consideration of municipal early voting site between the city and Sioux Township. Item 12, approval of consent agenda items as presented.
Thank you very much, Deputy Clerk Gordon. Would any commissioner like any of these items further explained or removed for individual consideration? Seeing none, Commissioner Bauer.
So moved, we approve tonight's consent agenda.
Support.
Motion and support. Any other further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passed unanimously. So we'll move into E, special orders of business. Acting City Manager Troyer.
Thank you, Mayor. The first item is annual audit presentation for the year ending June 30, 2025. And Christina from RPC is here to present. Christina?
Having me back.
Good evening, Christina.
I have brought with me tonight a packet. We do this every year. These are selected pages out of the full audit report. We do that so that we can add some text boxes, add some highlighting so that we can focus on some key areas. So this is what I will be covering tonight, but if you have questions out of this packet or out of the full draft, let me know and we'll cover that information for you, okay? So I'm going to turn into the first page. This is the Independent Auditor's Report. Here is where we give our opinion based on the audit, and that opinion is in the first section there. I put a box around the most important wording. In our opinion, the financial statements referred to above present fairly. That's a unmodified or unqualified opinion. It's the highest level of assurance that we can give you, so that's the wording you hope to see there. Below that, you'll see a highlighting for basis of opinions. And just below that, I want you to focus on the paragraph that talks about the change in accounting principle. Whenever there is a new standard that's adopted that impacts the financial statements, we're required to include that wording in the opinion letter. That's where you have it here. This is in relation to Government Accounting Standards Board number 101, which impacted how the city calculated their compensated absences. So the city already did calculate compensated absences, that's vacation, sick time, things like that. GASB 101 changed how that calculation happened, and you'll see the impact of that throughout the report that I give you tonight. But I wanted to show you that wording before we move off this page. Okay, we're gonna go past the letter here, a lot of standard wording here. We're going to go to page 1 of the financial statements. Pages 1 and 2 are a high-level overview or summary of the city as a whole. You'll see that the first 3 columns here have a heading called the primary government. Okay? And then the far right column is the component units. There are 5 different component units. They're shown all in one column here. There's more detail within the actual report. And I've got some text boxes at the top of each of those columns. So at the top of the governmental activities column, I've identified that these are the governmental funds and the internal service funds, or ISF funds, and you can find the detail that rolls up into this column on pages 3, pages 4, and page 7. The next column is the business type activities. Those are the enterprise funds. You can find the detail of that information on page 7. And for the component units, again, there are 5 of those. You can find the detail of each of those component units starting on page 12. Okay. This information is shown on a full accrual basis. That means all of the activity is presented here, whether it's short-term or long-term. And we'll talk about the difference between those when we talk about the governmental funds, which are shown on a short-term basis. And this page here is the statement of net position. It's kind of like a balance sheet, and on this sheet you'll see the assets. Those are items that are owned by or owed to the city as of year end. There's also a category called deferred inflows, deferred outflows. Also there's liabilities, which are items that are owed to others as of year end. And the difference between all of those categories brings you down to net position at the bottom. The next page is page 2. This is the income statement, if you will, for the city as a whole. Again, we've got different categories here for governmental activities, business type activities, and to the far right are the component unit information. Wanted to show you at the bottom, I've got a couple of boxes. The first box there is the change in net position. So as a result of operations for the year, you'll see whether the governmental activities, business type activities, or the component units each added to or took away from their ending net position for the year. And then the second box that I have highlighted or I have around the information is in relation to the net position beginning of the year. This is where that new standard had an impact on the financial statements. Because of the implementation of that standard, it required us to go back and restate the beginning net position, which was last year's ending, which was presented to you last year. We have more information on that, so I'm going to skip past that unless you have any questions. The next page is page 3, and this is starting the detail on those governmental funds. The city has 15 separate governmental funds, and pages 3 and 5 have a major fund focus. So if the individual fund is large enough, or if city personnel prefer to have it shown as major, it will be shown as major, and it has its own column on this page. You'll see that the major funds for 2025 were the general fund is always major, major street, local street, capital projects, and road contingency. And then the other 10 funds are combined into the non-major governmental funds column. And I've got a text box above that. You'll see the detail of all of those non-major governmental funds starting on page 63. Pages 3 and 5 are presented on a modified accrual basis. That's a short term, so the long-term activities not included in these particular numbers. Okay. And this page is the balance sheet. So again, it will show the assets, liabilities, has a section here for the deferred inflows of resources, and then the difference between those categories brings you to fund balance for each of those funds. So for the general fund balance ended at the end of the year of $2.3 million. Okay. Now what we do with this information, you'll see the total governmental funds over to the far right. We take that information and combine it with the long-term activity, which is on the next page. These are all the long-term items, pieces that are added to that information, and then roll up to page 1 under that governmental activities column we just covered. So some of that long-term activity you'll see are capital assets. Another category is revenues that are not collected until after that 60-day period, which is that short-term view. Information from the internal service funds is added, as well as long-term activity for bonds and debt, and then some other long-term liabilities related to compensated absences and the pension plans. So again, that's added to all of those individual funds and rolled up to page 1. The next page is page 5. This is that same information for all of those governmental funds. This is the statement of revenues, expenditures, changes in fund balance, or an income statement. So this page will show the revenues that came in the door to fund operations for each of those funds, major funds, and then the expenditures, costs that went out in the various categories, such as general government, public safety, public works. There's also another category called other financing sources and uses. Here's where the city shows proceeds from the sale of any of the capital assets, but also shows transfers within the funds of the city. A lot of activity there this year. I've got a box 3 lines from the bottom. This is the net change in those fund balances. So for each of the major funds, you'll see the net change as a result of operations for that fund. For example, the general fund had a reduction in their fund balance of approximately $3 million, due in large part to the transfers you'll see above there. Okay. The next page is page 7. This is where the city details information on the proprietary funds. These are the funds that are run more like a business. So the business type funds is where the city will charge an external party for services. For example, the water and sewer fund and the parking deck. And then there are 3 other non-major funds as well to bring us to the total enterprise funds. And then to the far right are the internal service funds. Again, those are funds that charge for a service, but those funds charge the different other funds of the city, not the external parties, but will charge other funds of the city. Okay? These pages 7 and 8, are on a full accrual basis because they are run like a business, so all the long-term activity is included here. This first page, 7, is a statement of net position, so it shows the assets and liabilities as well as deferred inflows and outflows, bringing you down to net position at the bottom. I'm going to have you turn to page 8, which is the statement of revenues, expenses, and changes in net position, or an income statement for those proprietary funds. At the top, you'll see the operating revenues, expenses below that, non-operating revenues, and expenses, as well as a different category for all those transfers. Again, I have a couple of boxes at the bottom. The first box is the change in net position for each of those funds. And then another box toward the bottom is the impact of that statement, GASB statement number 101. We also did have a restatement relating to a lease that was included in the water and sewer. Again, that's detailed more in note 23, which we'll cover in just a minute. Okay. The next 2 pages are the statements for the fiduciary funds. The city has 2. The first is the Fire and Police Pension Trust. The next is the OPEB Defined Contribution Trust. If I could have you turn to page 11. This is the statement of changes in fiduciary net position for those funds. I have a box around the deductions category of the OPEB defined contribution. You'll see that that fund does come to a 0 at the end of the year. I'm going to talk about that a little bit more in the minutes, okay? It's my expectation that that fund will not be included in reports going forward, and I'll explain why. The next 2 pages give detail on the 5 different component units for the city. Got the Economic Development Corporation, Brownfield Redevelopment Authority, Downtown Development Authority, TIFA 3, and the Local Development Finance Authority. These 2 pages are, again, on a full accrual basis, so all of the long-term activity is included here as well. Page 12 is the combining statement of net position, the balance sheet. This is where you show all the assets, liabilities, deferred inflows, deferred outflows. The next page is the combining statement of activities, or the income statement for each of those component units. Again, I have a box at the bottom showing the impact of that new GASB that was accepted or applied by the city in fiscal year 2025. So that's a lot of the detail on the numbers. After the numbers and the financial statements come the notes. In the notes, it describes the different policies, financial policies of the city, and then it also provides some additional insight on some of the numbers that we just covered. So I pulled out some specific notes to cover with you tonight. This first page is page 28 of the notes, and the first item I wanted to show you is note 4, interfund receivables and payables. I think that's mine. Will you turn it off for me? Interfund receivables and payables. Again, there was a lot of activity between funds this year, and I wanted to show you a detail of funds that owe other funds as of year end. So that's note 4. Note 5 below it are amounts that are due from other governmental entities. Wanted to show you in that table, there is still a significant amount of money that is due as of year end to the city from the state of Michigan for some grant projects that are happening. Okay. The next page is page 29. And here's where we start note 7. Note 7 is a detail of capital assets. And this note, along with several of the other notes, has to be broken down between activities for the governmental activities, activities for the business type activities, and then activities for the component unit. So I wanted to show you that here. On page 29, you'll see the capital asset activity for the governmental activities. The next page is a summary of the capital asset activity for those business type activities. You'll see in that first table there's a lot that's added in the increases column for construction and process. A lot of items that are projects that are being undertaken for 2025 that will carry into fiscal year 2026. And then the next page, page 31, shows the summary of capital asset activity for the Economic Development Corporation as well as the Downtown Development Authority. The next page, page 32, is where we start a discussion on the bonds, notes, and other long-term liabilities. The first part is the premiums and discounts that are tied to the different general obligation bonds that have been issued. But I want to turn to the next page. This is a detail of each of the general obligation bonds for both the governmental activities, and then the bottom half of that table is the business-type activities. So this is a listing of the general obligation bonds that are outstanding, and the far right of that table shows the outstanding amount as of year-end for each of those general obligation bonds. And then the next page gives a detail of the direct borrowings, both for the governmental activities as well as the business-type activities, and then there's a lease on the component unit at the bottom of that table. I did highlight at the top of this section, there are specific revenue bonds that were issued during the year. Revenue bonds are different from general obligation bonds. Those revenue bonds are considered to be direct borrowing instead, and wanted to show you where in the notes there's a detail of the 3 revenue bonds that were issued for fiscal year 2025. And in the table, I highlighted where those new bonds are detailed as well. These are bonds that have a large amount that's available to the city, but as of year-end, a small amount had been drawn on each of those. The middle one was a little bit larger at $1 million, but more will be drawn in �26. And then on page 35, you'll see the changes in long-term debt during the fiscal year. Again, I highlighted there's different categories for the governmental activities, business-type activities, as well as component units. But I put a box around the additions and the retirements, and you'll see in the business-type activities, that middle section of that table, you'll see there's quite a bit that was added. Those are the revenue bonds that we just talked about. And then the retirements are all of the normal payments that are being made on those bonds. The next page is page 46 out of the report. Here's where I wanted to talk about that fiduciary fund. Under the MERS Healthcare Savings Plan, we added wording here that during the year, the city transferred all assets, remaining assets from the OPEB Defined Contribution Trust held by the city to the MERS Healthcare Savings Plan, essentially closing out that fund. The next page is page 52. Again, when a municipality implements a new governmental accounting standards board statement, they're required to provide detail of that in the notes. Note 22 talks about GASB statement number 101 related to compensated absences and what the intent of that was for. And then note 23 below it shows how that impacts those beginning net positions. In that table at the top shows all of the primary government changes, and then the table below it talks about the change for the Economic Development Corporation, as well as the correction for the lease that was part of those changes as well. The next page at the top, note 24, talks about subsequent events. So that's something that had not happened as of year-end, but before the report is issued, the city becomes aware of these significant subsequent events that have happened. When that happens, they're required to provide a disclosure. The first item talks about the sale of the parking structure that happened after year-end. The next item talks about the airport coming under the operations of the city. And then the third item talks about 2 bond issuances closing out. And then the last note I wanted to cover with you is note 25, upcoming accounting pronouncements. Whenever there's something coming that may have an impact on the financial statements, we like to make the boards aware of that. You'll see there are 2 coming that we wanted to point out. The first is GASB statement number 103, which talks about changes in the financial reporting model, may have some structural changes to the financial statements. And then the second one at the bottom is disclosure of certain capital assets. GASB statement number 104 may have an impact on that capital asset disclosure that we covered. The next 2 pages, pages 59 and 60, are 10-year historical tables that relate to the defined benefit pension plans that the city holds. The first one, page 59, is a summary on the MERS plan. I have a box around the column to the right. It says 2024. The reason it says 24 instead of 25 is because the plan year ended December 31, 2024, but those are the numbers that relate to your 2025 financial statements. The top section is a discussion of the pension liability and the changes in the liability, the overall liability itself. The middle section talks about changes to the plan fiduciary assets. Those are the assets put aside to pay that liability. And I have a box in the middle here that shows the 10-year progression of that net pension liability and the funding of that net pension liability for MERS. You can see as of year end, the net pension liability with MERS was $14.4 million, and it was 60% funded. And then the next page is that same information for the fire and police defined benefit pension plan. You'll see as of year end, that overall liability was $12.7 million, and that plan was 65% funded. But these are nice pages to see if you're interested in the funding levels for each of those plans over the last 10 years. This is a good snapshot of that history. And then the last 3 pages is the communication with those charged with governance, which is the board. We're required to communicate 2 times during the audit process. The first is during planning. We send that letter out in the mail to everybody. And the second time is at the conclusion of the audit. We include it in the report here. So just wanted to let you know that that was included in your financial statements. Any questions on the information? That's a lot of information to cover with you, I know, but anything that stands out?
Any questions for Christina? Great job on presentation.
Thank you.
And I like the little boxes you put in there and arrows for us.
Good, good. It's just so much detail there. I don't want to cover each piece, but I want to give you the resource to show you where you can look if you're interested in taking a deeper dive. I do want to say that we appreciate the staff here at the city. They do an excellent job, and we enjoy the audit here. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Christina, and I think acting city manager had a couple comments, or was somebody else? Any comments from anybody else? Any questions?
I had the usual.
Oh, okay, ask the Commissioner Lynn. Go for
We've
it.
been asking this question for so many years. If you're surprised, I would be flabbergasted. Anyway, the question is, if you were to give the city of Sault Ste. Marie a letter grade for our financial situation, our methods, and where we stand today, what would that grade be?
As far as the financial information and the processes, I would have to say, if it's not a B+, then it's an A-. I think the city does very, very well, has strong processes in place. There's always room for improvement. That's why I never give an A+, but the city does very well. As far as financial stability, I think also the city is doing very, very well.
So that would also be another A-.
If not a B+, then it would be an A-.
Thank you very much.
You got your range. Commissioner Habusta.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just wanted to thank you for the report, but also let public know who are watching that this is available within the board packet as well. And I believe it gets posted on our website. Is that correct? And then we post on the city website. So any public who's interested in it can check it out there as well.
Thanks, Commissioner. Acting City Manager.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Christina. I know you put a lot of time and effort into this, and I appreciate all the work that you've done on this audit. I'd also like to take the opportunity to recognize the finance department staff. With the audit, it takes months to conduct the audit to get to this point. So I did want to recognize and thank the Finance Department staff. First is our Finance Director, Kristen Collins. She is retiring at the end of this year, so she's probably very excited that this will be her last audit to endure. And Callie Perrin is our incoming Finance Director. So she will take Kristen's role upon Kristen's retirement. Also, Susan Anderson is in the audience. Susan is our accounting assistant, and she will be promoting into Callie's position as our incoming assistant treasurer accountant. And then Nancy Firstnow, who's not here tonight, she's our payroll administrator. Erin Bartlett is utility billing coordinator. Abby Raining is our customer service rep, and Jesse Smart is our customer service rep as well. All of the finance department, really participates in the process, but the heavy lifting is done by Kristen, Callie, and Susan, and I just want to express my appreciation to all of them.
Great words, and on behalf of the commission, we thank you as well, and congratulations to Susan and Callie on your promotions, and congratulations, and thank you to Kristen for all your years of service. And do you get a gold seal for this audit or something for her? So that's excellent. So we do need a motion to accept the audited financial statements. So who'd like to make that motion? Mr. Bauer.
So moved, we accept the findings of Rodland Prestige and Company.
Support.
Motion and support. Any other comments? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passed unanimously. Moving on into E, special orders of business. Number 2, acting city manager Troyer.
Thank you, Mayor. First reading of an ordinance amending sections 10-1.1704, parking requirements to the city's zoning ordinance, and schedule a second reading for January 5th, 2026. And our Community Development Director, Kelly Freeman, is going to present on this request.
Good evening, Mayor and Commissioners.
Good evening, Kelly.
So before you tonight in this item is more work done by our consultant that was hired as part of the MSHDA's HRI grant process. Earlier this year, we saw the PUD and ADU ordinances come before you, so this is to make some adjustments to parking. There are a few things that are proposed to be changed. I'll try to keep it high level. A few authorities rested with the Zoning Board of Appeals would be moved to the Planning Commission. Those are the first 2 items in the summary on the in the background memo. New authority for the Planning Commission to allow lesser parking, provided that developer sets aside the area needed for the balance of it and then revisit down the road if a need arises to construct it. One of the bigger ones is a reduction of the multifamily parking requirement from 2 spaces per unit to 1.5. Multifamily is anything 3 units and above. A couple other odds and ends in there, and then the other one, which is fairly notable, is a reduction in the parking requirement for retail and grocery stores. Right now, it is 1 space per 150 square feet of usable area, and that would go to 1 to 250. So about a 40% reduction. Usable floor area is basically the sales floor. So minus the bathrooms, storage areas, back of house areas, kind of a targeted requirement there. On the screen is a table. This is also substantially an attachment 2, if this is a bit challenging to read. At the top is a list of use types. I did include 1 and 2 family just as a reference point, even though we're not proposing to make any changes to those. And then you can see the current is the top line or top row for us. Next down is proposed, and then you see Traverse City, Marquette, Alpena, Gaylord, and Escanaba for their requirements. Probably the biggest thing for me in terms of making these reductions is parking is expensive to install and maintain. Clearly, as you go to the retail areas of the city, there is an excess of parking. On paper, Walmart is short 200 spaces and Meijer a little over 300 spaces based on the specific requirements of the code. So there's quite a lot of room to come back. This is just a minimum requirement, so if a developer wants to add more than what the numbers work out to, they're free to do that, but we're not forcing them to go to the ZBA to get a variance or put more parking in than they truly need. Additionally, more runoff into the lakes and streams reduces water quality locally, which we can all get behind keeping improved. And then lastly, one of the big benefits here is it would probably help some size-constrained sites be a bit easier to develop for redevelopment or new development in the future. So I'm happy to answer any questions if there are any. This went to the Planning Commission at their December 4th meeting. There was no comments from the public, and they recommended to the City Commission unanimously that the language be approved as presented. So the recommendation tonight is to schedule a second reading for the January 5th City Commission meeting.
Thank you very much, Kelly. Anybody have any questions for Planning Director? Do you have any comments, Acting City Manager? Commissioner Habusta, would you like to make a motion?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Motion to schedule a second reading of the included ordinance for January 5th, 2026 City Commission meeting.
Support.
Motion and support. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passed unanimously. Thank you. E, special orders of business, number 3. Acting City Manager Troyer.
Thank you, Mayor. Item 3 is first reading of an ordinance amending section 10-1.1703, parentheses 5, accessory buildings to the city zoning ordinance, and schedule a second reading for the January 5th City Commission meeting. And Community Development Director Kelly Freeman is going to present on this as well.
Welcome back.
Good evening again. This is a short trip. So this is a citizen-initiated text amendment brought to us by Mr. Tim McKee, who's in the audience this evening. Mr. McKee set about to build a detached garage at his home this summer. And right around the time that construction started, he left town for an extended period for his work. He did have a licensed residential builder with a proper permit. However, near the end of construction, it was discovered that the builder made a mistake, which ended up in the building being 1.5 feet too tall to meet the zoning ordinance requirements. It was supposed to be 2 rows of block with an 8-foot stud on top of it, and it's 2 rows of block with a 10-foot stud. So that's kind of where things went a little haywire. So I talked to Mr. McKee about options. Modifying the building was one of them, which would be a very complex and unnecessarily difficult process. Second one would be to seek a zoning board of appeals variance. The ZBA really isn't designed to address contractor mistakes. It's more about peculiarities with the property than anything else. And we also talked about changing the rules to raise it from where it is now to a point above where he needs it to be. And Mr. McKee elected to go the route of the text amendment, so that's why we're here tonight. So right now, the maximum height for residential accessory buildings in the city is 15 feet, and that is measured at the midpoint between the peak and the eaves. There's a graphic in your packet that kind of shows how that is measured. That's a very common way of measuring. You can see a number of communities listed here, and that other than Mackinac City, everybody pretty much uses that way. At 15 feet, we are the lowest of all these communities listed here. The 15-foot rule that we have is original to our zoning ordinance, which was initially adopted in 1965. So that figure's been consistent and constant since that point in time. Obviously, things change. Campers get bigger, trucks get bigger, people's needs change since that time. So in talking with Mr. McKee, I thought, well, this would be, this has been something that's been a bit of a sticking point, causing some ZBA variances at points in the past. So this might be the catalyst that brings us forward to an adjustment. Earlier this year, as part of the ADU regulations, the City Commission did allow an extra 10 feet, so those can go to 25. Mr. McKee is asking for 20, and you can see relative to our communities listed here, that's kind of right in the middle of everything, which is kind of where you want to be. We still have area requirements that will need to be met. They can't be bigger than the house that it's associated with, and there still are lot coverage requirements, so this height increase isn't going to necessarily result in larger footprints, square footage of building, just a little bit taller than people have been able to since 1965. Mr. McKee is present. If there's any questions of him, full disclosure, he is a member of the Planning Commission, but stepped off the dais to represent his own interest when this item was before them on December 4th, and like the last one, they recommended unanimously to approve this as it's been requested.
Anybody have any questions for Kelly or for Mr. McKee on this particular issue? Commissioner Habusta.
I just have a comment. I truly appreciate the peer comparisons, peer community comparisons that you've given us. I think that's very helpful data, and I truly appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah, certainly good job, and thank you, Mr. McKee, for bringing it forward. I think that's, this is the way government should work, I think, in considering these. Commissioner Marble, would you like to make a motion?
Thank you, Your Honor. Motion to schedule a second reading of the included ordinance for the January 5th, 2026 Commission meeting.
Support.
Motion and support. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passed unanimously.
Thank you.
Moving on into item F, communications. First one is from Commissioner Rubenstein. Commissioner Rubenstein.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So this is around the city manager executive search. There's been some questions about the process, and I know there's been some attempts to get us together for a special meeting to move things forward. So I guess I just want to ask kind of where we are, where things are going, if needed, if it's possible to get consensus on any potential meeting date tonight while we're all here. I know I can look at my schedule all the way out until June and know the two meetings that I'm not going to be here for. And yeah, just kind of an update as well on where things stand.
So we do need to have a meeting. We wanted to have an in-person meeting with our consultant who is from Hancock, Glenn Anderson. And we had a couple of failed attempts, I think, at putting it together for this evening. So I think acting city manager had said that now his schedule would be after the first of the year. So we're just a couple weeks away from there. So we'll have to schedule something out for after the holidays.
Do we have any idea what available dates that he has? Or do we not?
Don't know that for sure. We'd have to find out, I guess. We could have found out, but we didn't have any information on the agenda item. So,
Okay.
and
Yep.
Commissioner Habusta.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I would just echo that, and the sooner that we can move on that, I think it would be great. Would love to see that scheduled for the January 5th meeting if possible.
That's one of the ones I won't be here for, so.
We'll,
I said that's the one I won't be here for is January 5th.
Perfect.
It can't be that.
that's the meeting then. We'll get potential dates from Mr. Anderson, and so we'll have to make it work with the commission. So we will all have to make an effort to get a time.
Does anyone have specific time conflicts that they know are not going to work during the day while we're all here, or a
I
specific day
don't
of the
know
week?
what his availability is. I guess we should do a doodle poll or something. We'll get his dates and find out which ones works the best.
Okay, thank you.
Yep, thanks. Anything else on that item? All right, so under F, communications, number 2 from Commissioner Rubenstein.
Back again. Admittedly, I put this on the agenda, or asked this to be put on the agenda as things were kind of hitting a boiling point around the holiday decorations. Now that things have simmered down a little bit, and I don't want to miss anyone, but a special thank you to Megan Hanna and Justin Knepper, who I think have stepped up to help kind of move things forward, moving into the future. But I guess a little bit of an update of how we got to that point, and I know there's some potential plans moving forward, so what those look like. And then lastly, what the proposed cost or what needs to be raised for new decorations across the board.
Again, I think if we had the questions on the agenda item, acting city manager could have been prepared for those questions. I don't know if she has those available, so if you want that brought up at a future meeting. But typically with an agenda item, you know, we need to know exactly what you're gonna be looking for.
I did ask some of these
Okay,
prior to.
okay. Commissioner Bauer.
While we're on the subject, you may recall that, I know it was before 2017, because I think it ended in 2018 with my departure from the commission at that time, but we had the Light Up the Sioux initiative, and there were $4,000 every year that was spent. I know part of that was spent on reimbursing the Tower of History and everything for their costs to stay open, but we also spent some of that money on Christmas lights, and the whole the theory behind that was to, you know, buy a little bit every year and have them accumulate. And I'm just wondering what happened to all those, because I've, like, after 2017, 2018, I never saw them again. As a private citizen, I mean. And now I don't as a city commissioner. So, I mean, for I don't know how many years it was, 4 years, 5 years, whatever, that we were buying Christmas lights under that Light Up the Sioux initiative, and now those lights are, I don't know where. And I was just wondering if anybody knew where they went.
That's something we'll have to look into. Go ahead.
That was just a afterthought add-on. Actually, it's been on the back of my mind for quite a while, but this just seemed like a good time to bring that up, since the subject had been broached.
Commissioner Marvel?
In all fairness to acting city manager Robin, I would just like to possibly have this added to the next commission meeting with some of these answers that we're kind of answering.
I mean, I can provide an update.
Yeah, an update, please.
So when I became aware of the issue that the Christmas decorations were not up, staff, of course it's snowing, so staff was being pulled in plowing or putting decorations up. Very thankful to the street department staff. They worked overtime, day and night, all weekend, pulled the snowbanks in the downtown. They worked to get the decorations up and maintain street clearing. So shout out to the street department for the work that they did, as well as installing, the decorations that they did in sub-freezing temperatures out there. So I do want to recognize them. From what I understand, when I became aware of it, I made a call to former DDA Director Justin Epper. He said the current decorations that we have were fundraised by a Christmas committee or a group of volunteers, and they were donated, and he thought it was back in 2015. Since then, there hasn't been any new decorations that have been purchased. They're in rough shape, and they're exceeding their life expectancy. There was a request in the current fiscal year budget for $20,000 to buy Christmas decorations. The budget committee is tasked with balancing the budget and presenting a balanced budget to the commission. There were priorities in this budget: purchasing a new fire truck, buying a new grader, an excavator, the list goes on. The budget committee was faced with cutting $2 million out of the request to bring a balanced budget before the commission. All of these are priorities and all of these are needs, but when we are sitting around trying to balance the budget, we focus on essential services that we need to provide to the community. And I'm not saying that Christmas decorations are not a priority. I'm not saying that at all. It's just a difficult decision to bring a balanced budget before the commission. After speaking with Justin, he expressed that him and Megan would be interested in doing a fundraising campaign to raise money to buy decorations. The city owns the poles. Street staff installs the decorations. Historically, these volunteers and committee would prep the decorations and get them prepared, and the street crews would install them. Somewhere along the lines, we've lost that process, but we're going to get back to it, and we'll work with Justin and Megan on that, and I'm thankful that both of them reached out and lended a hand of support. So that's kind of an update to the commission as far as the decorations in the downtown.
Thank you very much, Acting
Yeah.
City Manager. That was a
Thank
good
you.
update. Commissioner Boost, I think.
Yep.
Next.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I appreciate that update, certainly. Acting City Manager, I appreciate you bring us that information. I think on my end, I just would love to see two things. The first is a process for hanging and a process for funding. So if that means we do it all through private donations, great. If that means it's a split effort, whatever the city administration comes up with, I think that's wise and important to do. And then a process for getting those up. I think one of my frustrations was that we weren't learning about it until much later on. And I think we were all kind of taking some heat about that. And so I think just knowing that that the city administration has a process for hanging that up and making sure it's on the calendar, whatever needs to be done, so that we're not running into snow and hanging decorations, having to make choices and things like that. So I appreciate the update. I appreciate the work that our crew did to get those up and get the snowbanks pulled down as quickly as possible. The awesome job there by the road crew, but just a plan and processes going forward I think is important.
Mr. Rubenstein.
Yeah, that update was perfect. Thank you. That's just exactly what I was looking for. So I think that provides some clarity moving forward. So thank you.
Commissioner Talentino.
Thank you, Your Honor. This regards both of the last two under communication. I think we as commissioners need to do a better job if we're going to put something on the agenda. We need to research it. We need to get a hold of the city manager or acting city manager, get some questions, because when I come to here and I look at my screen and there is absolutely nothing on there, that's frustrating. And that's frustrating for the acting city manager, that's frustrating for the mayor, and it's going to be frustrating for us. If we're going to take the time to put something on there, we sure as heck better take the time to start doing some research with some questions, maybe some answers, maybe some fiscal impact, which we can get all of that stuff from the acting city manager. So I think all of us, myself included, need to do a better job if we're going to put something on this agenda. We need to start doing some research. Just don't let's say we're going to talk about it. This is a good way for a lot of bad arguments and discussion to start happening. All right, so I'm thinking if we're going to put something on there as a commissioner, do your job and do your your diligence in doing the research to get that information to us. Because a lot of the stuff on a lot of this, did we get all the answers we were searching? No. The acting city manager doesn't have it. If we had asked her the proper questions, we probably could have had everything taken care of. So I think we need to research this stuff before we just throw it on there, okay? Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Rubenstein, we're not going to.
I mean, specifically with the holiday decorations, a lot of these questions I did specifically ask. So whether it was specifically on here for our packet, I specifically asked those questions. And when it came to the city manager executive search, what prompted that was multiple members on this commission not responding to the request to try to have this meeting tonight. So that's where it was prompted from. So why a lot of that info or what wasn't on here, that's why.
All right, so anybody else? Moving on, G, business items, number 1, acting city manager, Troy.
Thank you, Mayor. Consideration to approve design and construction engineering services to Donahue and Associates for the 2026 Clean Water State Revolving Fund Phase 3, and city engineer David Boyle will present on this request.
Good evening,
Going
Mayor.
solo again, eh?
Yep,
You don't have your backup team.
no, doggone it.
Good evening, Dave.
Good evening. All right, so this is for our Phase 3 that we just, CWSRF that we just approved back in November. So this is an amendment to our consultant team, which is lead firm is Donahue and Associates, and then we have C2AE is their sub-consultants that they're on your groundwork. So their amount that we have in here is within the budgets that we had set up for the funding. The scope of work was all the same that we put in to get the funding for this operation. We also have in here right now the schedule that we set, that we went and negotiated with Eagle. And it only went one way, a week here and a week there, but last week was our first submittal, so that's in here. So we're asking to approve the amendment so we can get the team on board and get rolling.
Thank you, Dave. Anybody have any questions on this? Seeing none, there are two separate motions. And I know Commissioner Bospas-Rath likes those.
You know I do. Thank you, Mayor. Number one, motion to approve an amendment with Donahue and Associates and their sub-consultants for design and construction services in the amount of $4,416,455 to move forward with the FY 2026 CW SRF project and allow the acting city manager to sign the amendment.
Support.
Motion and support. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passed unanimously. Commissioner Bospas-Rath.
Number two, motion to establish a project budget for the 2026 CW SRF with expenditures of $35,120,000 funded by SRF grant of $4,565,600 and SRF loan of $30,554,400.
Support.
We have a motion and support. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passed unanimously. Thank you very much. G, business items. Number two, Acting City Manager Troyer.
Consideration of award of bid and budget amendment for TIFA 1, 2, and 3 amendments for district plan extensions, and interim EDC Director Nikki Radke is going to present on this.
Good evening, Nikki.
Yeah. As you guys are aware, TIF 1, 2, and 3 are all expiring December 31st of 2026. The DDA and the EDC put out a joint RFP, of which we had 3 responses. OHM Advisors was our low bid at $15,000 per TIF. All of those prices will be purchased out of the fund balances, and then both the DDA board and the EDC board have approved this. OHM is very familiar with the city of Sault Ste. Marie, and we've kind of been in some conversations, but I know they worked with the Carbide Dock. I know they've worked with Kelly on the housing plan, so I'm pretty happy with the bid we got from them.
All right, thank you very much. Any questions for Nikki on the this agenda item? Commissioner Talentino, would you like to make this motion?
Sure, Your Honor. Motion to amend the TIF 1, 2, and 3 budget in support of the plan extension addendum, to the 3 districts in the amount of $15,000 per TIFA.
Support.
Motion and support. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion passed unanimously.
Motion to award the bid to OHM Advisors in the total amount of $45,000 or $15,000 per TIFA.
Support.
Motion and support. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passed unanimously. Thank you very much. G, business items. Number 3, Acting City Manager Troyer.
Consideration of a public hearing for Portage Street Hotels in Sault Ste. Marie Brownfield Plan, and interim director Nikki Radke is going to present on this one.
Yes, so tonight we're actually going to present on both items 3 and 4 at the same time, just to give you guys a heads up. So for both of these projects, especially the Brownfield plan, they have been taken to the Brownfield Authority. The Brownfield Authority has approved the plan, as well as the DDA and the EDC have both signed into an interlocal agreement for the capture of these taxes. So tonight I have the West Portage Street Hotels consultant here with me, and he's going to give you an update on the project, what that looks like. Feel free to ask him all the questions, and we'll kind of go through this, and if anything arises, ask away. So this is Mac McClellan. I'm so sorry about that.
Good evening.
Good evening, Mac.
Good to see many of you again. I'm Mac McClellan, the Brownfield consultant for the project. I also worked on the Lake States Freshwater Center and the Mac building as well with you all. So appreciate the opportunity. I just have a quick 2-hour presentation, so sit back, relax there. So, but motion support, get me out of here. Huh? So, great. Yeah, this is the redevelopment of 435, 437, and 447, plus 2 adjacent parcels up on West Portage Avenue. I think you all are kind of familiar with the area, but it includes all of those parcels. 435 West Portage LLC owns all the parcels currently, so ready to go on that. In addition, and I think you all know the current use, or its former use there, as Carl's Cuisine, and the opportunities. It's going to be quite a transformation opportunity for the project. It includes 2 components: a 120-room Town Place Fairfield Inn and 82-room home suites. It's home to suites. Estimated investment at about $30 million. So the Town Place is the first phase of the project, and will go in on the north side of the property, facing the locks. And then Home to Suites will come in after that as a phase 2 component of the project. Fairly attractive additions to that, and significant investment in that opportunity as well. The upper left is the Fairfield Inn, and the lower right is the Home to Suites project. The development team, I think you know many of them, Northern Hotels, own the Hampton Inn in Sault Ste. Marie, also recently developed the St. Ignace Hampton, which they've recently won an award for, and operate about a dozen hotels throughout northern Michigan. Kevin and Sean Japaya and Patrick Fortuna are the principals for that. So really before you, the project really can't move forward without some level of incentives. The dollars just don't match in terms of the construction cost and development and the potential revenues. So the request before you is consideration of 2 components. One, a Community Redevelopment Act abatement for 50% of the taxes, and then kind of layered on top of that, a brownfield plan request for capture of TIF revenues. The DDA has the first rights to any of the incremental taxes, and so what they need to do in order for this project to happen and for us to get state funding for the project is to, the DDA will assign or forego the capture on this specific project, just this property here, for the time period that it takes to pay off the eligible activities. And then after that point in time, estimated 14 years, the DDA will receive those funds of local taxes. States will receive the local funds, and the ISD will receive its local funds as well. So, I think there's some significant public benefits to the project. As you can probably see, it certainly aligns with the master plan goals, redevelops an underutilized property, really expands visitor service. This is kind of an underserved area for visitors in the community, and certainly with the investment in the locks, will be an important asset here too. I think another thing, and something that I've seen in my work throughout northern Michigan, is spin-off redevelopment. When somebody makes this kind of investment, neighboring property is going to be making investments. We already had that with the Mac building. That's helped spur this on a little bit, and expect that those kind of things would continue. Certainly increasing private investment and taxes will generate significant taxes. I'll show you a little bit later in that, and job creation between 30 and 50 jobs for the project. So just a quick note on the Commercial Redevelopment Act abatement. Operates like many other abatements. It's an older act in 1978, but it provides for the abatement of half for new facilities, half of the taxes for the project, for local taxes and school operating taxes for up to a period of 12 years for that. The district is established by the commission. Two components or 2 steps: establish a district and then approve an exemption certificate. Sometimes these districts are broad and wide, but kind of what I found is it's not too hard to set up the district, much like a brownfield plan can do it each time. So for the projects that appreciate those or need those projects, you can set up this commercial development district. And this proposal is just to include the hotel property. And then when the district is established, a request application for the exemption certificate is submitted, and you all review that, both after notice and public hearing for the establishment of the district and the approval of the certificate. So, and the State Tax Commission can approve up to 50% abatement of the state education tax at 6 mills The 18 mills of school operating taxes are abated already, but the state can approve that. And I'll just say, with both Brownfield Plan and CRA, schools are held harmless. You know, they still receive their state education formula no matter what the revenues are from the school operating tax on the sites and the projects. So Brownfield TIF, there's still 50% of those taxes that are left over. This provides for the reimbursement of those extraordinary expenses for redevelopment on the site. And through the increased investment there, increased taxes are generated. Those are captured and then reimbursed until those eligible activities are paid off. The Brownfield Plan is approved by the Brownfield Authority, which already occurred, and by the City Commission after the public hearing, proposed public hearing. And then the Michigan Strategic Fund would approve state tax capture for the non-environmental eligible activities on this. As I noted, there's an interlocal agreement with the DDA. They, again, have first rights. So there's under the Urban Cooperation Act, an ability for them to forego those taxes as well. And MSF won't give us any state money unless we chip in the local dollars. So that's an important consideration as well. And then we estimate after that time period, the DDA is going to get about $500,000 in taxes from the project. Makes the developers gulp a little bit, but that's the estimates that we have. So the Brownfield eligible activities of Phase 1 environmental site assessment was conducted. There are no recognized environmental conditions. It's not a site of contamination, but it does qualify as a functionally obsolete site, is another qualifying status. And there are 4 primary areas: lead and asbestos abatement, demolition of the existing buildings and site features as well. And then there's unstable soils there, so they have to put in special foundations in order, especially with the taller building, to hold that up. That's the primary site preparation. And then some level of integrated parking within that to reduce surface parking, as well as manage stormwater and investments in the stormwater on the site. So those are the Brownfield eligible properties. Kind of gives you an outline of each of those, about $1 million in site prep and infrastructure, about $200,000 in abatement, and then some other additional costs. There also are costs included in here for the implementation of the Brownfield Plan that come to the Brownfield Authority to manage the project and to address those projects as well as some administrative fees that support the Brownfield Authority. So you may have seen this in your audit reports or someplace. Just a quick note about taxing allocations. The great part about brownfields is it's the one program where we can get participation from the state. So, you know, I kind of look at this, and for Sault Ste. Marie, it's about a 40% state grant over time to help economic development projects in the community as well. So right now, there's about the initial taxable value is set for the property. The taxing jurisdictions continue to get that. A portion of that is going to the DDA because the property was included within that DDA plan, so they'll continue to get a portion of those taxes. All the taxing jurisdictions will continue to do that, but this, you know, gives you an idea about what level those taxes are. If the school debt continues on, and they often do, you know, we estimated about $1 million in school debt. School debt is not captured as part of the Brownfield Plan, so the schools will definitely benefit through the project as well, directly as well. So when the investment happens, this kind of shows the first phase and then the second phase. The CRA, Commercial Redevelopment Act, ends in year 12, and then one more year, essentially of reimbursement to the developers for their cost, and then one additional year of capture for the local Brownfield Fund that the Sault Ste. Marie can have to invest in other properties, in other problematic properties, do some environmental assessments, help position those properties for redevelopment. So very valuable resource. And then after that time, those taxes go back to the taxing jurisdictions, split between the local and the state. Again, predominantly through the DDA. Most of the local taxes go to the DDA. So the proposed schedule that we have with you is, again, the Brownfield Authority on November 11th approved the Brownfield Plan. The DDA approved the interlocal agreement on the 12th. We're here tonight to do the introduction and to set the public hearings for both the CRA district and for the Brownfield Plan. That's proposed for January 5th. And then at those meetings, you would hold both the Brownfield Plan and the CRA public hearings, consider establishing the district and approving the Brownfield Plan, and then also at that meeting, setting the public hearing for the exemption certificate that would come to you at your next meeting for consideration. And then we get to send all that stuff into the state and get their approval in April. So this kind of provides for a, spring construction start for the project. So the request before you tonight are the two items: adopt the resolution to set the brownfield public hearing, and to adopt the resolution of intent to establish a commercial district and set the public hearing for the district. And I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you very much, Mac. That's a lot of good information. Any questions from the commission? Commissioner Habusta.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just a question as I'm reading through the document this past week, just on timeline a little bit. I wonder if you share a little bit on timeline. It looks like one of the projects will begin in spring of 2026, but another project not until spring of 2029. You're seeking these abatements to begin, though, at the start of one of the projects, and are we guaranteed the second project?
Yeah, I don't think that they can guarantee the second project, but there is no abatement if there's no other project. And, I looked at this initially is that reasonably we could go with the other parcel for a 12-year abatement, but what we said and what we decided was, hey, we'll just do the 12 years. It's a loss for the developers if they don't, get that started. They'll only have 2 or 3 years of the abatement and a few years of the brownfield TIF. And so they certainly have an incentive to do that as quickly as possible. They just want to kind of see the market response to the initial project before that next investment is, but they're fairly confident, can't guarantee, but fairly confident that that timeline can be met.
Thank you.
Thanks, Commissioner. Anybody else? Certainly, we appreciate all the work you've done on this, Mac, and all the other projects that you mentioned. You've done a great job on those.
My pleasure.
This is a great developer. We know him well. He has a great property in the Sioux, one of the probably flagship properties in Sault Ste. Marie, and he also owns a few other properties in the Sioux as well. And I've been in the St. Ignace property. They did a beautiful job down there too. So I know they're excited about investing in Sault Ste. Marie, and we're happy to have them here. So. On the first one, we'll need a motion to establish the public hearing for proposed brownfield plan for Porter Street Hotels and sign the resolution setting the date for January 5th, 2026. So we'd need a motion to do that. Commissioner Bossis-Rath.
Thank you, Mayor. Motion to establish a public hearing for the proposed brownfield plan for the Portage Street Hotels and sign the resolution setting the date for January 5th, 2026.
Support.
Motion and support. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passed unanimously. And the second one is the motion to establish a public hearing for the proposed commercial redevelopment district for the Portage Street Hotels for January 5th, 2026. And the second motion is to sign the resolution of intent to establish the commercial redevelopment district. So Commissioner Bossis-Rath, you want to finish them up?
Sure. Motion to establish a public hearing for the proposed commercial redevelopment district for the Portage Street Hotels for January 5th, 2026.
Support.
Motion and support. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passed unanimously. Commissioner Bossis-Rath.
Motion to sign the resolution of intent to establish the commercial redevelopment district.
Support.
Motion and support. Any questions, comments? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passed unanimously. Thank you very much, Mac and Nikki. Thank you.
See you next year.
Appreciate it. All right. Moving on into G, business items number 5. Acting City Manager Troyer.
Thank you, Mayor. Consideration of banking resolution and change in signers. As mentioned previously, Finance Director Kristen Collins is retiring at the end of the year, so there'll be a requirement to change the banking signers on the city's account. So a motion is to adopt the updated City of Sault Ste. Marie banking resolution as attached, naming myself acting city manager and incoming finance director Callie Perrin to act as authorized signers for banking transactions on behalf of the city.
Thank you, Acting City Manager. Anybody have any questions on this item? Commissioner Marvel, would you like to make this motion?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Motion to adopt the updated City of Sault Ste. Marie banking resolution as attached, naming acting city manager Robin Troyer and incoming finance director Callie Perrin to act as authorized signers for banking transactions for the city.
Support.
Motion and support. Any questions or comments? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passed unanimously. Moving into item H, city manager announcements and updates. Acting City Manager Troyer.
Thank you, Mayor. First item is a year of impact. I wanted to spotlight some of our 2025 highlights. This is just a snippet of the work that the city has done over the course of the year. Of course, there's many other projects that we did and many other achievements and successes that are not included in here, but these are some of the top highlights of the year. So I'll run through them real quickly. First is the completion and reopening of the Carbide Dock in Alford Park. Our engineering department and our finance department successfully managed the $38 million Carbide Dock Alford Park reconstruction project that had been underway since 2023. As the commission knows, there was many grants that the city had to, kind of fit together to fully fund this project with just a small portion of local contribution. Second was the sale of the parking structure. So we sold the parking structure to My Michigan Sioux back in, I believe it was October, and we appreciate My Michigan Sioux and their partnership and collaboration throughout the sale, allowing the city to maintain the necessary public access to the parking structure. Third is just spotlighting our state and federal grant funding. Total fiscal year end, $26 million is what the city brought in federal and state grant revenue, and that's a testament to the department heads to go out and seek these grant funding opportunities, apply for them, accept them, and then manage them. It's a lot of work on the department heads to manage these, but it's $26 million in this fiscal year end that came into our community for a variety of projects. The wastewater treatment plant upgrades, phase 1 is underway, phase 2 will follow behind, and the commission just approved phase 3. It's a testament to the dedication of improving our infrastructure and maintaining it for years to come. 5 is the I-500 track event grounds improvement, and that was a partnership with the Convention and Visitor Bureau to go out and obtain that grant award to upgrade the I-500 track improvements. And for those that went to the pavilion, ribbon cutting was a great partnership with our CVB and transformed the I-500 property to be more of a year-round event venue. Our water treatment plant intake pipe replacement, $1.6 million to extend the crib of the water treatment plant's water intake. As Christina mentioned during the audit presentation, we successfully transitioned all of the PEHP trust funds to MERS. It was a huge undertaking. It took city staff, PEHP boards, and our union partners to successfully transition all of those trust funds into MERS, and it will help sustain the benefits to the employees in the long run. 8 is transitioning assessing services to Up North Assessing. When our city assessor retired, we put an RFP out and contracted with Up North Assessing, and that has proven to be successful. Up North Assessing has been dependable, reliable, and responsive to residents in our community, so that has been a great partnership for assessing services. 9 is bringing Sanderson Field Airport operations in-house. As long as I've been here, it's always been operated under a fixed-based operator, so bringing Sanderson Field operations in-house was no easy task. We hired an airport manager that kind of helped lead us through that process, and he has done phenomenal work for us, and many department heads and staff supported the transition and helped make that successful. 10 is commitment to public service through organizational change. Is with any organization, we go through periods of short staffing, onboarding new employees, overcoming the learning curves, and many departments and many staff picked up the slack and carried through with high-quality public service to our citizens, and that's a testament to the dedicated staff that we do employ at the city. 11 is strengthening public safety through training and leadership. Our police and fire departments prioritized training our staff, and I just want to point out, Detective Sergeant Kepsipsky completed the FBI Advanced Sniper Observation Training. Officer Mayat earned CRAS Reconstruction Certification. Officer Atkins, our SRO, contributed to the school reconfiguration project. The fire department implemented task books to be maintained at every level of promotion. Firefighter medic Coletti Parr successfully completed training to achieve promotion to fire inspector. And then both the departments executed safety plans and unified command for 6 of the major events that happen in our community: the I-500 snowmobile race, LSSU graduation, Engineers Day, 4th of July Parade and Fireworks, the International Bridge Walk, and Festival of Races. And it takes a lot of time and effort on our public safety departments to ensure that these events are safe and are fun for the participants. 12 is, as I mentioned earlier, we acquired a new 2025 Pierce Enforcer heavy-duty rescue pumper. Chief Miller had brought that for the commission to check out previous this year. And then special recognition for some of the community outreach that our staff members do that are beyond their traditional duties or responsibilities. So Detective Dunay established the Jason Carson's Memorial Fund along with Detective Troyer and firefighter medic Coletti Parr. They organized the annual police and fire game, which fostered community engagement and camaraderie between the 2 departments. Susan Anderson, who's in the audience tonight, coordinated the United Way of Eastern Upper Peninsula annual Thanksgiving basket drive, ensuring the families received support during the holiday season. And Bryn Methner has led our Salvation Army Angel Tree program, bringing holiday cheer to the children and family, and all of the city employees that donate to each of these events to give back to our community. So I just wanted to spotlight some of the accomplishments, and these are just a few. Staff is dedicated to the community, and we do have the best workforce.
Awesome, thank you very much for that report. It's, to see it in paper like that is pretty astounding, and you do have a great staff. So, Commissioner Barber, do you have
13 items. You are not superstitious at all.
It was supposed to be 10, but I couldn't cut some of them. It's supposed to be a top 10, but.
It was worth 13.
Yep. Okay, next item is the winter plowing procedures. This is just an update. It is out on the city's website now that we are in the depths of winter. It's just more for public information on how our street department operates. Our night shift operates Sunday evening through Thursday, 9 p.m. to 5 a.m. There are only 4 employees on night shift, and there's priority 1 is state trunk line, which is 35 lane miles. Priority 2 is major streets, which is 63 lane miles. So they cover a lot of territory for 4 staff members on night shift. Day shift operates Monday through Friday, 5 a.m. to 1 p.m. There are 10 employees on day shift. Priority 3 is local streets, which is 116 lane miles. They do parking lots, alleys, and 22 miles of sidewalks. When there's a major snow event, they'll work 24/7. So they'll roll around the clock. We have great street department crew that they will come out and they will work 24/7 to ensure the roads are clear. We do have on-call coverage. So shout out to our street department for the work that they do, a small crew, but they do get it done. That's all I have.
Thank you very much. Two great reports. Anybody have any questions for Acting City Manager Troyer? All right, so we'll move into item I, which is matters presented by the public. Is there anybody in the audience that would like to make any comments at this time? Sure, if you'd like to come up and state your name for the record, please.
Hi, my name is Tracy Kangas.
Hi,
Is that all you need from me?
Good.
Okay.
Yep.
So it's only fitting, I guess, that I come after the report on the plowing, because that's kind of why I'm here. You may or may not remember, I think Commissioner Habusta was the only one that actually responded, so I appreciate that. Last year, I know that I first want to say I'm a nurse, so I understand priority. And I understand that there's more streets than just the one I live on, but I live on West Spruce Street, and my driveway is off of the one-way street part of Arlington. And I guess while I appreciate, small crews, as I said, I'm a nurse, so I understand, thin crews in a small community. I've tried to email and talk to Mr. Perrin, and I believe everybody that is here that was on this commission last year. My concern, I guess, is that one-way part of Arlington Street where, we're probably in priority 5 if that existed, the last street in the city to get plowed, because it's essentially an alley, but that is how I get into my driveway. What worries me, and I know that we have what winters we have up here, I've lived in the UP my entire life, the postal workers park at the very beginning of my street, so turning down to get down to my driveway, which is kind of towards the end, when they don't plow, or last year specifically when we had so much snow, no one ever cut back banks, we barely got plowed. It's very hard to pass these vehicles. My other concern, as I said, as a nurse, is I know that I am married to a disabled veteran who is fortunate enough to work, but there are 3 surrounding me, like within 2-3 houses, elderly disabled veterans, and my concern there is, what if something happens and, we're the very last street to get plowed or not plowed at all, and an ambulance needs to get down the street or something, an emergency, God forbid, knock on wood, happens. I just, I kind of wonder how, if you're able to tell me the streets are prioritized, or if that's something that can even be considered, if what is taken into consideration as far as that goes. I know it's probably not the top of your priority list, but it's where my nurse brain goes, and I see these little, the geriatric population has always been my favorite in nursing, so when I see these little, disabled vets trying to clear their sidewalk or whatever, it's always on my mind, so I don't know if that's something you guys can answer. I've never been to one of these meetings, so.
Acting City Manager, do you have any comments?
I was going to say we could connect after the meeting. I could get your phone number, get specific location, and then follow up.
Okay.
That
I would
works.
appreciate that. I have other, it's a forgotten street, and I get that. Like I said, I know we're not top priority, but it's more than just the snow, but that's my concern right now, is that it's obviously we're in the depths of it, so I appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Tracy, for coming. Anybody else in the audience would like to make any comments? All right, so we'll move into item J, which is matters presented by the City Commission. Commissioner Habusta.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. With all the additional snow we've had recently, one of the questions that keeps popping up is when will the Seal Recreation Hill open? So I'm just wondering if you have any updates on that at all.
Great question. So we're working through hiring staff right now. They're getting the hill groomed, safety. We don't have a target open date yet, but as soon as the hill is safe the Free Hill is open. So if people want to go and use the Free Hill, that is open, they can go and use that. But as far as the tubing runs, we need to get the runs groomed to be safe, and we'll put an update out on the city's Facebook page when we're opening up.
Wonderful, thank you. The only other comment I have is that there's a local event happening at the First Church of Christ. It's for all area first responders and prison guards. It's an opportunity for them to decorate Christmas cookies with their family and take them home, save the mess from their house, and do it at the church. So that's happening on Friday the 19th at 5:30 p.m. to 8 p.m. Drop in at the First Church of Christ. Thank you.
Thanks, Commissioner. Anybody else? Certainly on behalf of the city, Merry Christmas and Happy New Year. It's hard to believe it's our last meeting of the year, so. Commissioner Bauer.
Your Honor, I move that we adjourn this meeting.
Support.